Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today I wanted to talk about how I got into Metal Queens, an elite dressage club on Hazy Galaxy, because I know many of you are applying for Metal Queens or are interested in applying for big dressage clubs, so hopefully this will help you. This is more going to be focused on my backstory and how I got accepted, and less on tips and advice, although I will share some. But if you're interested in getting more general advice, then I would go watch my other videos, which I might link somewhere. But yeah, so let's jump right in. Before I talk about the actual application process, I want to talk about my backstory and kind of how I did dressage before that, what clubs I was in. So before applying for Metal Queens, I was in several dressage clubs. I started out with small non-Discord dressage clubs, and then slowly I started joining bigger dressage clubs. The first ones I joined were purely beginner to intermediate-ish, and then I joined the Nightingale's house and I learned more advanced moves, and then I joined Steel Bee's academy for I think like a month or something, I don't know, 2 weeks, I forget. Unfortunately it closed, but I did join that, so it was like a semi Steel Bees version thing, I don't know. It was like a dressage camp, I guess you could call it. So I did that, and then after that I started to own my own dressage club, but then I found out that Metal Queens applications opened. So yeah, that's how I got, into the application cycle. And then when applications opened, I applied immediately the morning of applications opening. If you are applying for Metal Queens, plan to apply very early in the day, because my club owner's mailbox can get full, right? Like there is a limit. And I believe I did try to apply once before that and her mailbox was full. So just keep that in mind, that mailboxes do fill up. So if you can apply really early in the morning, that would be great. And yeah, so that is my advice for that. And the actual application mail, if you want to know what to put in it, you can check out my club owner's channel. She has plenty of videos on, when applications open, what to put in there, all the club requirements. But I will actually share my own application mail with you, just so you have an idea of what to put in there. And I guess that's also a pretty good insight because I got into the club, so then you can use mine as an example. Now, things have changed since then, or might change, so just keep that in mind. Just stay updated with my club owner's social medias, and then you'll get all the recent updates. But yeah, so here's mine. I will probably blur the moves just because I don't want anyone to copy. And even if you do copy, just keep in mind that there are people watching this video. Even my club owner might be watching. So people will be able to tell if you have copied. And the dressage test will for sure show. So yeah, I'm gonna read my mail and talk through. So the first part is talking about whether you meet the requirements and just a little bit about yourself. So I'm gonna read that. The chat filter was really bad at this point, so I had to replace a lot of words. I'll just read it like how I would normally. I meet all the requirements. I'm above the age limit on Hazy Galaxy, higher than level 17, elite in dressage. I have the Generation 3 Frisian, not the one with the white socks, unfortunately. I have almost all of the uniform, extremely active player, and I can definitely attend 3 or more practices. So I did mention here that I did not meet one of the requirements, which keep in mind at this point that was fine. I'm not sure if that's still okay, but as far as I know, if you do not meet one of the requirements, you might still have a chance of being able to take the dressage test and then get accepted into the club. I did not have the club horse when I first applied, but I was still able to get accepted, and then now I meet all the requirements, but at that time I didn't. So just keep that in mind. Just because you don't meet all the requirements, it does not mean that you cannot apply. As far as I know, that may change in the future. Moves I know, and then I'm not going to read that part, but just literally try to list as many as you know. The male does have a limit, so I recommend, keeping it short but sweet, and include as many of the elite moves as you know. And then at the end, I wrote why I want to join Metal Queens. I would love to join Metal Queens because I'm interested in improving my dressage skills. I enjoy strict dressage clubs, and I think that this club would provide a healthy, competitive environment for myself. So that was my application, and after that I did get an email from May saying, "Hello, thank you, congrats, you passed. Come to the riding hall this Saturday, August 7th at 1 p.m. Pacific time for the group testing." So that was about, I think, a week later after I applied, that the testing was scheduled. So usually if you are accepted, you will get a mail saying, okay, come to the riding hall at this time, and then that's when the testing begins. But there is time in between the first round of mails, like when you first apply, and then there's time in between the dressage testing. So just keep that in mind. There's like 2 stages. And if you don't get accepted, I have no idea because I've never not gotten accepted for Metal Queens, so I don't know if you get a mail for that or if you don't. But once you have passed that stage, and if you have passed, you will move on to the dressage testing. Now this part is actually probably the most exciting, but there's a lot of preparation that goes into it. After I received my acceptance, I went to the riding hall on Saturday, and there were a lot of people. Be prepared, especially for when applications open and you know that there are a lot of people who are going to be applying, or there's a lot of talk about it on Star Stable social media. Then just know that there will probably be a lot of people there. So be prepared to be in a very long line. Be prepared to be given lots of moves. Just keep that stuff in mind. So as I said, there were a lot of people, and we started with beginner moves, which I believe is usually what the club owner does. She starts with beginner and then moves her way up. For me, it was really easy to tell kind of how I was going to do in the test, because as we went up the levels, I was able to tell how much difficulty I was having with the moves. So for example, when we were doing all the beginner moves, I was completely fine. I was like, this is a piece of cake, I got this. So that just kind of gave me an idea of how well I would do throughout the test. And then after you pass the dressage test, there will usually be what May, my club owner, calls a mature test. Now this test is to test how mature you are and how much you will be able to handle this personality wise, and just like character wise, I guess. Do you give a good first impression? Are you kind? Are you respectful? Are you a responsible person? So she usually gives the question like, what would you do if drama broke out in the club? Or if there was a fight going on in Global, or if there were rumors spreading, what would you do? And I'm pretty sure May has given the answers to some of these in her previous videos. So if you want to watch that, you can go watch that. But yeah, that is as far as I know. And then after that, she may ask you a couple other questions about all the elite moves you know. But that roughly sums up the Metal Queens testing. And I went through it all. If there's ever a question in the interview where you really feel like you do not know, like for example, for the mature test, she asked me the question, if drama broke out in the club, what would you do? And I was stuck between 2 answers. Should I ignore it or should I tell the club leader, which now I know the answer. but at the time I wasn't sure, so I just combined both answers. I really recommend that strategy. If you're not sure, then if you feel like it's okay to combine two answers, then I would go ahead and do that, because that gives you a higher chance, since you have two answers combined. Like, you can't be fully right, but you can't be fully wrong, right? So I recommend that. That practically saved me, I would say. Yeah, I think that is about it. I will say that it is a stressful process, so if you know that you are going to get anxious, then I just recommend taking some deep breaths or practicing your dressage with some club members or some other people, and that will definitely prepare you. Even if you just like come watch one of our dressage practices, it will make sure that you are prepared. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it helped you, and I hope hearing what my experience was like will have a positive impact on yours. Or even if you're not applying to this club, I hope it helps you when you apply to other clubs. And yeah, I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.